Okay, well, thank you very much for inviting me. So I'm Anya Skatova from University of Bristol, and I think I am a data scientist, although it's quite a, sometimes quite vague who is, who isn't. But I definitely can't distinguish my experience as data scientist as my research experience in general. So I'm going to talk about everything, and hopefully, hopefully people are interested in to hear my story. So my kind of what I want to talk today is in three parts. So first, I will give you my research sales pitch and tell you how amazing I am. Then I will talk a little bit about my story and my failures. And then I will give a bit of reflections on my challenging tips, and some of them would be related to, today's occasion. Some are more broad because, as I said, I can't really distinguish my experiences, separate one from another. So I'm Dr. Anya Skatova. I'm a UK Alan Turing Fellow, and I lead Digital Footprints Lab at Population Health Sciences, University of Bristol. My research is focusing at the moment on the use of shopping data for health research. So I will tell you a little bit how we do it. So in terms of shopping data, sorry, I'm just, okay, yeah. So there's loads of data these days that you leave behind interacting various services called novel digital footprints data, or just digital footprints data. And those data, including social media, loyalty cards data, wearables, so on, they can provide a lot of interesting information about our behavior and about our health as well. And specifically loyalty cards data from, especially from major supermarkets, are of interest to health researchers. What kind of, why do we need to use this data for health research? Well, the issue is that from existing traditional methods of data collection, even more advanced, such as health records, there is a lot of important health information missing. So, for example, in the domain of mental health, there is a stigma not to report certain things, so we don't know a lot about people who are underreporting their mental health issues. We can often study well behaviors that lead to affect lifelong health, like such, for example, exclusivity of breastfeeding, because there's like social perception, telling that all women have to breastfeed, and that, it's really kind of unattractive to report that you haven't, or you gave formula or whatever, you stopped breastfeeding. So again, people are embarrassed to report those things. In diet domain or nutrition, we simply often don't remember extra snacks that we eat, and so this information is also missing from self-reports, let's say. And in kind of anything to do with us treating our symptoms, information about people's symptoms before they go to the doctor is not in any health records. And also, we don't know whether even people are taking prescriptions that they're prescribed, if we don't look at other types of data. So shopping data can help with a lot of these questions. And so now I will just take you a brief overview how we approach it. So imagine somebody buying menstrual products and every 28 days, and then they bought a pregnancy test, stopped buying menstrual products, and then we see that 9 months later they start buying baby products. By the way, I use this slide in many presentations. This is my son on the first day of when he was born. So by tracking this timeline of products, we can actually understand a lot about health, especially if we look at the what products they purchase alongside those like key indicators of their life stages. So, for example, if somebody buys Nurofen together with their menstrual products, we can infer that they suffer from menstrual pain. And in fact, we have a project looking at that. We can study their diet alongside with, let's say their pregnancy period, and then see, how healthy they eat and how then it can affect their other health outcomes. We can look at what remedies they buy to deal with their mental health and infer things like whether they suffer from postnatal depression or stress at that period. So this is broadly how we use this data for health research. Now, novel digital footprints data can give us access to kind of the vast amount of individuals and billions of transactions. So it's something that hasn't been possible even with the most well-resourced studies. It actually gives us a window into real-world behavior. It's not self-report or lab-based measure. And it's dynamic. It's kind of has multiple measures per person at close continuous times. It's very granular, and you can also go back in time as far as data recorded. So, for example, if you have somebody who already suffered from some health outcome, you can look back at their diet, or at least at what they bought in the supermarket, and infer their diet kind of way back. The scale is huge. National supermarkets cover the whole of the country, and the potential impact from using this data can be quite impressive too, because it can change the way that evidence for effectiveness of policies is collected. There's a lot of questions in our research whether people are happy with it, and people are, broadly speaking, if you explain to them why you need this data. And, the fact that this data already used for commercial benefit, why wouldn't we use this wealth of data for public good? So people are happy to donate their data for health research. And just to kind of wrap up, kind of the core of my work now is developing in linking this digital footprints data within longitudinal population studies. So these studies, the cohorts that have been following the same participants over years, sometimes decades, the beauty and amazing opportunity of linking digital footprints data into the studies that we of course know a lot about these participants already, so we can address a lot of interesting questions about validity of the data, about sampling biases, and so on. And we have been doing this work with ALSPAC, Avon Longitudinal Study of Parents and Children, otherwise known as Children of the 90s, where we linked their shopping data into the study. And we're using this as a springboard to link other digital footprints data in multiple studies to benefit various areas of population health studies. And we have projects on reproductive health, on decision-making. There's obviously loads of work on various aspects of data linkage. We do work on public acceptability, COVID, diet, social inequalities, chronic pain, alcohol consumption. So there's loads of interesting research that this data can be used for. So now, I told you a little bit about my research. Now I just wanted to go back to sort of my story and where I'm coming from. So this is, by the way, this is a picture of me and my parents, 2006, when I was moving to UK and the airport. So I finished my degree in psychology at Moscow State University in 2003. Then for until 2006, I did various things. I started a PhD in Moscow, but it's kind of very different, well, even back then, and now perhaps slightly even worse. We didn't have access to libraries of literature. So I went on a few conferences and realized that I can't really do anything further without moving abroad. So I moved to the UK. I got very lucky to be accepted at Oxford University. I didn't get funding, even though I applied for funding for this master's program. So again, very lucky that various parts of the family supported my journey. I need to say back in 2006, the international fees were about the same as now home fees. So it wasn't too bad, but, still substantial kind of step. So then I got accepted to do a PhD in psychology in Nottingham University. It was in psychology of individual differences in behavioral economics. And in 2011, I finished my PhD. I got a postdoc at University of Nottingham in a multidisciplinary research centre, which sounds really vague, but it was vague, and it was called Digital Economy Research. So we did all sorts of things to do with digital economy, with basically anything to do with digital. I've been there for 4 years, and I think it was an interesting time because it was like a melting pot of various people from various disciplines and backgrounds. And that is when I start working with computer scientists who work with shopping data. And I think, when all this work I'm doing now started, basically, we were trying to understand how to use behavioral theories on these new forms of data that traditionally haven't been used for research at all. Then I moved to Warwick Business School, and then also Warwick Manufacturing Group. I got my first grant. I was still postdoc at this point. I then was very lucky to get a Vice Chancellor's Fellowship at the University of Bristol in psychology, Department of Psychology. And in 2018, I applied to be a Turing Fellow, which I got, also very lucky. That had a grant attached to it. Then in 2020, I've been on maternity leave. And then I was very lucky during maternity leave to get the UKRI Future Leaders Fellowship at Bristol and proleptic appointment at Population Health Sciences and Population Health Sciences Bristol Medical School. So, all good so far. So what was behind that? And I just sat a couple of days ago to put it together. This is all I could remember, that there's more of failures there. But this is before I moved to Bristol. All the fellowships and grants I applied for and jobs I didn't get. I need to say all the grants I mentioned here are as a PI. So I was also as a co-I, but that didn't mention it here, as in failed grants as a co-I. So this is all major pieces of work. All the grants were at least 18 months to 3 years and took many months for me to put together and then fail. So starting from 2009, 10. 11, when I was still writing up my PhD, I applied for different fellowships, doctoral fellowships, as in not postdocs, but full-on fellowships where you write the proposal and all sorts. I applied for loads of postdoc jobs. Loads of them were desk rejected. So Nottingham Economic twice, Oxford Psychology several times, Cardiff, Cambridge, Bristol, also Yale. Then I was interviewed for postdocs. Didn't get the jobs. And then when I moved to Warwick, I written 3 grants, well, at least. Again, I might have missed something that I didn't get. That's the grants kind of, just for those who never written a grant, it probably took 3-4 months out of my time, if not more. Then when I moved to Bristol, this is everything I was rejected in Bristol. I applied for also as a PI, so this is all major applications. MQ Fellowship, Wellcome Trust, Public Engagement grant, then there was Bristol Impact Acceleration Funding, Wellcome Trust, Data Linkage. In 2018, at the first round of UKRI FLF, I wasn't nominated by my department. I put myself forward, but they didn't nominate me. So then I was nominated a year later, in 2019, I think three rounds later, 4, round 4 in the end, yeah. Yeah, and just recently been rejected from ESRC Smart Data Accelerator grant, also data linkage. So I just wanted to show it that it's not all like successes. There's loads of kind of rejections and failures. But, nevertheless, at this stage of my career, I, secured over £2 million in PI funding. I manage a group of researchers who you see here. I a Turing Fellow, which is a recognition of, leadership in data science. I also organized the Digital Footprints Conference, which will be in 2 months at Bristol. You can find information on our Digital Footprints website. I also lead chair interest group at Alan Turing Institute. So yeah, just to say that, the failures are the part of the journey as much success. So just reflections on my challenges and some tips if people need them. So since it's International Women's Day, I wanted, I said I can't really separate challenges of being female and other parts of my sort of myself. But I think in terms of being female, and also I can't separate challenges of being data scientist compared to, psychologist or health researcher. But, as a female, I was taught, regularly talked over in discussions. I always assumed to be younger and more junior than I am. And people undermine my opinion and judgment. 1 year maternity leave really kind of knocked me off my networks, and it took over a year after to probably get back on track. I often the only female in the room in the kind of environments I work, and although it is changing, and it took me a while to find my voice in these circumstances, and people have been rude to me in various ways, like, for example, advances at conferences by people. Once was called feisty while presenting and defending an argument, and that was by a white middle-aged male, just defending my work. I wanted to add that, obviously on top of being female, I'm also foreign in this country. I'm from Russia, so I struggled and still struggle with work-related politics. I'm communicating with people. I'm perceived too direct. People make a lot of assumptions about me, which are often not accurate. And, just as a sideline, but important part of my life, from 2011 until 2019, after I finished my PhD to 2019, I needed a visa to stay in the UK. And that caused me a lot of anxiety and money spent on visa. But, it's not a matter of having a job. I only could get an academic job, and I needed it lined up quite far in advance. And sometimes I had 6 months contract that I had to apply for visa for, and that was really stressful. To 2019, I got indefinite leave to remain. I'm also dyslexic, and I have been diagnosed very late, age 29, in the 4th year of my PhD. That means I struggle to write up research and publish papers, and it's not made easier because my research is multidisciplinary. Some of my papers have been rejected up to 7 times, and often desk rejected. And I received very little support with this over years. And I think what I'm trying to say here, all of this really undermines your confidence, even if people treat you equally otherwise. So, I'm not saying that these things affected my progress, but they definitely affect my confidence. So some tips, just, take it or leave it. If you want a career, you need to be strategic. It won't just happen because you work hard. That's what I thought initially. I will just work hard and I will be rewarded. It doesn't happen this way. Find good mentors and champions of your work. It takes trials and error. You're not going to get on with any, if you admire somebody and want them to be your mentor, it's not necessarily it's going to work out, but you will find the right people, and it really, really helps. Follow from that, get as much advice as possible. There is loads of unwritten rules in academia that nobody talks about. Nobody, like, they're not written anywhere, but like people only informally can tell you, or after talking to people, you can kind of get to understand them. You need to learn to accept that failure is a part of the game and keep trying. I mean, I showed you how much, how many rejected grants and proposals I had, but it's just part of it. If you're in a junior career stage, like PhD or early postdoc, don't be afraid to approach most senior people, because like it's easy to think, oh, they don't want to talk to me, what can I contribute? But actually, senior people need good junior people to work with. Everybody is always looking for good PhD students and good postdocs. So if you're in early career stage, especially, you're actually in really good position to approach people and ask to work with them. And since it's International Women's Day, just wanted to say that if you're a woman and you want to have a child, don't wait until circumstances are right, because they're never going to be. People used to tell me that, but I didn't listen. So I would say just do it, wherever stage you are. If you think personally you're ready, just do it, because it feels like a big decision to have a child, but it's just the first decision you're making, and you don't know, like the road to having a child and then going through like being a parent of a small child is like so long, and there's so many obstacles that I don't think there is a point to wait, if to wait kind of right work kind of related environment. It's just personal. It needs to be a personal decision. So I just want to finish on that and leave you with this picture that I took on the way to work a couple of days ago, and just wanted to highlight how, despite everything I said about challenges, how lucky I am to be here and be in Bristol and be in my job. And thank you for listening, and everybody who helped me along the way with my career. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Anya. That was great. Really good to think about the failures along the way, because it is a brutal truth about any kind of journey. So next up, we've got Joan. So would you like to share your screen and get going?
So hello, everyone. My name is Joan Ngugi. Happy International Women's Day. It's such an honor and a delight to be one of the speakers today. So my presentation will be, I'll just give a background of what I currently do. Then I'll take us through my journey before, my career journey, and then what I currently do on a day-to-day basis and the lessons I've learned along the way. So I wear two hats mostly, 8 to 5 and 5 to 8:30 p.m. So by day, I'm a product owner at M-PESA Africa, Big Data and AI. And then by night, I'm a part-time data science instructor at Strathmore University. So M-PESA Africa was created in 2007 by Vodafone and Safaricom, and it's now the region's or Africa's largest fintech, and it's also the largest mobile provider. So Safaricom is also a telecommunication company like Vodafone that is in Kenya, and since then we've scaled to 7 countries, also in partnership with Vodacom Group as well. So as a result, all these 7 countries, we get to process, and this week we are celebrating 17 years, so it's been a lot of joy over here. And we process over 150 million transactions a day, and we have 60 million transactions, customers across Africa. So I'll talk about what I do at M-PESA Africa, but then at Strathmore, over and above teaching. So Strathmore, iLab Africa is also like the Gene Golding Institute. It's the research hub for Strathmore universities. Strathmore University, one of the top universities here in Kenya as well. So I'll talk about my journey, my career journey, how I transitioned, and then the lessons learned as well. Part-time, find me writing about data science, tech articles. So if you'd like, you can follow my Medium page over there. So I'll paste the link later. All right, so my career journey, I started as the traditional, or I really wanted to be a software engineer. That was a few years back when software engineering was the in thing. So I knew I wanted to do this. I wanted a piece of the pie to this. So I did that, and my background is also computer science. And then my first job, I was given an option to become a software engineer or a business analyst. I decided that since I didn't know what business analysis was, I might as well take this role, and I can still do software engineering on the side. So I joined Safaricom, which is Kenya's largest telecommunication company. And just the background story I've also given about the home of M-PESA. And I became a business analyst for 2 years and a solutions architect afterwards for 1.5 years. So all this time, I knew I really wanted tech, but I wasn't feeling this. I wasn't too sure this is the route I want to go. But I knew I've always loved data science. So the main thing I had to be was to be intentional. How do I transition from this career phase 1 to career phase 2? So I started writing technical articles, data science articles, just for me to make sure that I can understand and just a way for me to learn. But then I had the privilege of going back to school. So I went and learned now data science, more of a diploma to top up my computer science degree. And then I was fortunate enough now to get a role in Strathmore University as a part-time data science instructor. I've been doing that for the last 3 years. And from then on, I knew I've hit the breakthrough of my career. And now a position came up at work, and I managed now to become product owner, big data and AI. Yeah, sorry, I had some comment. Okay, but yes, it's someone who needs to mute. Okay, then the next bit. So what do I do on a day-to-day basis over and above teaching students, which is something I'm also very passionate about. And it's always very fulfilling after teaching a particular cohort and the students get back to you and they mention how the course content was very valuable for them, especially because I try to apply what we do at work and I try and teach the students on an application basis. So the main thing being that we process 150 million transactions and we serve 60 million customers. We really have to be intentional about the why, and the why is from a revenue perspective, and it's also from a customer satisfaction perspective. How do we maintain business relevance, and how do the decisions we make actually are strategic and get to create impact for us? Sorry, Christian, I can hear some background noise. But yeah, okay. Proceed. Okay, next slide. Slide seems not moving. Okay, there we go. Okay, great. So what do? We serve 7 markets, so 7 countries. So we have to make sure, first of all, from a customer perspective, we look at the 360-degree journey of a customer. This is nothing new, I'm sure, if you look at this, but it's at the heart of most businesses, the fintech sector as well. And we try and see how do we model the whole customer journey in a way that makes sense to us as a business and to our customers as well. So for any business, at the end of the day, you really need to make sure that you understand your customers. And so we make sure that we have customer segmentation and cohort analysis just to understand who are our customers, because having 60 million customers, you cannot assume that every customer behavior is the same. So how do you segment them in a way that you can actually provide customized solutions for them? Then once you understand who your customer is, the next step is usually very critical, making sure you don't lose that customer. And therefore, we do two things. You can either predict churn, but most preferably, you predict inactivity, because if you try and predict churn, most likely you've already lost that customer. So we try and see if your transactions, we can sense or we can predict that your activity within our domain is actually reducing. What are these things we can do to make sure that you still remain with us? They usually say the cost of acquiring a new customer is much more expensive than maintaining the ones you have. So at the heart of this is just making sure that we understand the reason for inactivity and can we mitigate inactivity in advance. Then once you understand inactivity, then the next bit is now the proactive models. You've already segmented your customers. You've already made sure that they're within your system. Then these other products are just to make sure that now the customer being in the ecosystem, how do you create solutions that that appeal to them? So we build the traditional recommendation models, because at M-PESA, we have a variety of solutions. So mobile money is sending money to one person or the other. But over time, the 17 years, we've had a lot more solutions. We have things like even IMT, you can send money from Africa to Europe, so integrations to PayPal, Western Union. We have our own custom partnerships. So how do you make sure over these 50 products we have, how do you make sure the customer is accessing the most relevant product without cluttering it? Then on top of that, we have loyalty programs and dynamic pricing. When you want to run campaigns, how do you make sure that you are running the relevant campaigns? How do you make sure that if you're running an advertisement or you want to increase their customers, or another group we call merchants in Kenya, or the M-PESA ecosystem, how do you make sure you stretch them with the right target? So for example, we tell a customer, spend amount X, and then we will give you X number of points as on top of that. So all this initially was being done by using logic and business rules, but it's not sustainable for the business. There are customers with much more bigger potential, and you might be not stretching them to their potential. And there are also customers at the lower end who you would hurt by having generic rules for the dynamic pricing bit. So once we are done with the proactive models, the next bit, which is very important, is one, monitoring how are these use cases performing, or how are your models performing in production, looking at data drift, and then what are the business metrics we are actually tracking. If we had predicted a customer would churn, and just by predicting that, and we've done some campaigns to make sure they don't churn, how can we see the change by the actions we've made? So we make sure we are very intentional about continuously monitoring that, just to be able to pivot as soon as we can if any of these solutions we created is not working correctly. Then, of course, the traditional A/B testing and always getting customer feedback. So these are just some of them. There are plenty more that we do, especially just to be compliant with regulation. Like if you process 150 million transactions a day, then there's potential for money laundering. So we get to do money laundering projects as well. We also offer credit scoring solutions. So how do you create the scorecards for the customers? So that's just a sneak preview of what we do. And this cuts across most businesses, not just the telecom or the fintechs. Any business would want to look at their whole business solution from this angle. Then finally, in conclusion, what are the lessons that I've learned along the way? 75% of the things I've learned through mentorship and support, and learning it from my colleagues, other data scientists, my mentors, and other people in the industry. Then the other thing is courage and consistency. And courage also comes along with not having imposter syndrome or second guessing ourselves, especially as women. I think sometimes we might be our biggest doubters, so we really doubt ourselves. So for me, it has also been a journey of making sure, how do I be my own source of inspiration, courage, and not allowing imposter syndrome to hinder my growth. Then the other thing is continuous learning. Whenever you feel like you've reached at the peak of one project, you realize you are at the bottom of the other. So the learning journey never stops. So that has always been my mantra as well. And then, as always, learning by doing. We can spend all the time or all day learning syntax or small solutions. The only way is to learn by doing. You learn from failures. Most of these projects I've mentioned as well. Some have failed, we've had massive success, but the only way we could learn is by doing, and then making sure we pivot as soon as we can. So that marks the end of my presentation. I will hand it back over to you, Christian.
Thank you so much, Joan. Imposter syndrome, all our favourite friend, right? So I won't talk because we are very tight for time. So next up, we've got Dandan from Alliance. Want to take it away?
Hello, I'm Dandan from Alliance. You guys all hear me okay? Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was introduced me as like from LV, Liverpool, Victoria. I'm not changing job or doing two jobs. It's like we are acquired by Alliance a few years ago, and now we are properly integrated into Alliance. Yeah. So for today, I put the topic as 1 in 5 in data science and AI, but it was more of because if you Google like how many women's in data science, or like what the proportion of the community actually are women, then you'll find it's about like 20%. That's why I put it as this title. I'm not going to cover too much about my work today, but more of like sharing my experience. Hopefully that's still like useful, or hopefully more inspiring to you guys. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm going to cover today. About my personal journey, is like experience I'm actually shared less with people, but might be interesting to hear. And then also roles in the data science team. If you are hoping to get into data science field, or like looking for a new job, what kind of roles you could be targeting. And then a typical day as a data scientist. First of all, about my personal journey. I'll cover it like both my geographical location and also a bit of academic changes. So if you might be able to like sort of identify or guessing from my appearance, accent, or even my name, I'm not originally from the UK for sure. I'm from China. More precisely, I moved from Shanghai to London in the past about like 10 years. And then I'm currently in a London borough, but not really with a London postcode, more of like outskirts of London. And then I was actually originally from also a village very close to Shanghai rather than the city center of Shanghai. Yeah. And in terms of like academically, I actually did biotech in my undergrad time in China. And then I did some like management science and finance and worked as a business analyst for like about half a year. For my master, then I did a PhD in operational research, which is like in Southampton, which is part of the maths department in Southampton Uni. Yeah, I'm going to talk a bit more about or like my personal journeys, just to share a few stories which might be interesting to hear. Yeah, when I was a kid, about like say not really a kid, but more of a teenager, 12, 13 years old. That's like first few years of my junior high school. At that time, I was like doing okay, kind of average student, wasn't like too good, wasn't too bad either. But for a maths exam, I scored like 44 for that like exact maths exam, which like kind of, I can remember it till now because 60 is the pass mark in China, not like 50 as here in the UK or in the unis, but I only got 44 and I ranked 44, the same numbers. We only get like in total 45 people in a class, but I ranked 44. And it's very brutal because they put the rank in your exam paper and then you see it. And then they ask for a parent's signature to just prove they've actually saw the stuff. And then I was like, really, I'm not sure what to do. I'm really afraid of like everything's like things going to be very bad. Like my mom going to beat me or my mom and dad, they both going to beat me, something like that. But so I faked my mom's signature. It's like really, really bad. But things like can never really be hindered for that long. So apparently my mom and my teachers discovered that very soon. And something like not as bad as I expected, actually. So my mom didn't really beat me, but she's like really, really like, she said like she's disappointed because my dishonesty, not because of my grade. And then at that time, another thing is like, I'm kind of slightly getting older. I'm no longer a elementary school student. And that the like atmosphere of the whole society was more like once a girl's getting older, they are less good at STEM objects, say they less good at math, less good at physics type of things. And so it was like, I would say it was like very unfriendly for a girl at that age. And especially for someone like me, who suddenly only get like a 44 and ranked the second to the last in the class. But the good thing is like my mom actually didn't really give me up. She tried to shield me from all these noises, and she did it very well. And she's like she herself not really, she doesn't hold a university degree, but she tried to help me by trying to getting some good math teachers to teach me that, to help me. And also she didn't blame me anything other than the dishonesty. I was like punished by, you're not going to have like say 10 chocolate this week type of things, rather than punished by like beating me or like just blaming me. And she helped to sort out the problem with me. And then she also with me all the time, supporting me. Like, as I said, like she's not capable enough to teach me by herself, but then she do with me every time when I trying to finish some new like math challenges or some math papers type of things. And that all these like support from my moms are really, really helpful and valuable at that time. So after a year, which including really the whole year and the summer holiday, we spent the whole summer holiday together to just get all these issues sorted, improved. I actually largely improved my maths. And you can see, like, as I introduced initially, I eventually got a PhD in maths a few years ago. And then that was like in my child time. Then then I did like say the biotech degree in China. Then I moved to the UK. Then I applied for the PhD. And the good thing for my PhD is both of my advisors, they are actually female. One of them is a bit elderly lady, but she is like, because she got her PhD in her 50s. rather than any time early. And then she started to work as a lecturer in the maths department. And then she's one of my advisor. And the other advisor was a young lady, but she herself, I would say she's the best performer in our department. For my PhD experience, I would say they are really inspiring, mainly because I have two really, really good role models for me, and both of them are ladies, and they didn't really take traditional paths. They had like experience in STEM, and then one of them did PhD in a very late time, not like straight after her undergrad. And all these things are truly inspiring to me. And then but still, like, I didn't really stay in academia, which is a shame. But then I joined a company for a data science role, the data scientist role. Then I came to my current role in Allianz Personal, where I met my current manager. Again, a female. Also, she's the one who introduced me to this event and encouraged me to be a speaker here, which is like very, very encouraging again. So the good thing to have a female manager, especially when yourself is a female, is that they usually relate to you much better than a male manager. I do have good male managers before, but it's very hard to really to get as close as when you have like the female manager for me, and because they may encounter similar things, or like they have similar experience. Some microaggressions you might be really aware of, but they might have similar things and you feel uncomfortable, and then you share it with each other, and then they can really support you during the process. And it's really, really grateful for me. Yeah, this is like sort of my personal journeys up to now, which I'm really glad for. Like, I have a very supportive mom, and I have two role models, PhD supervisors, and I have a really, really good female manager now. And next part is a bit more of the data science in insurance team, or I would say more precisely in Allianz Personal, how our data, what different roles in data science team could have. Yeah, because we are a centralized team, so we don't have, say, for an insurance company, you might have the pricing department, or like the claim function, and you might have pricing data scientists or pricing claim data scientists. But we're not. We are a more centralized team, and so it's a mix of roles here. The roles in our team usually are like data hunters who are hunting for new data sources. When we say new data sources, like, other than the data sources you accumulated in your own company, you can have like a lot of different data. So because we're doing like car insurance and home insurance for all the cars, you may have like all the MOT data you can buy from other places, things like that. And then they also do the data quality control for all these new data. And sometimes they also do a bit of like data analysis work. And then data scientists, which is my current role, we are more responsible for model development and also model productionization, actually. I think our role covers the functionality of some data scientists and machine learning engineers might be some like big techs. Yeah, and then we also have data engineers, which is also slightly different, might be from other companies, because the data engineers in our team covers both like the ETL, which is more data infrastructure, when it might sound a bit weird, which is like extract, transform, and load the data to a specific location, and then also MLOps, which stands for machine learning operations, like taking care of the machine learning endpoint once the model is deployed. That's how it rolls. So I'm having the, like, say, title as a gender imbalance as part of that, mainly because when you see all these stuff, you can like imagine that data hunters, we actually have about half of us are female, and then for data scientists, you might only have like 1/3 in our team are female. For data engineer, it's just getting worse and worse. It's 1 in 7, or even like 1 in 10 in a lot of companies. It seems like it's a bit not sure like what causes that, but once the title have engineers, it's like really limited number of females in that area. But to be honest, the first programmer is a lady, right? So we should all be like encouraged into any of like we should all feel really encouraging and really like, and I'm sure every lady is as capable as man. Yeah, and yeah. So for a typical day as a data scientist, again, this is a very biased version, not it's only like from our team, from my day rather than anything else. So from the left-hand side, it is like, say, it's showing us my typical day as a member of technical staff at OpenAI, right? Yeah, that's probably the most famous company in terms of AI for now. They start the day a meeting at 10 a.m. and then experiments launched at 1 a.m. and then they go to bed, which is like extremely long day. We don't really do that. We have like 9 to 5, but we are more like flexible. But things are similar actually. They have meetings. Yes, we do have meetings like every day for a bit of a stand-up to just like communicate with each other. I'm having this like online meetings because now we are working definitely more remotely rather than before, or sitting around table. And then yes, everyone have lunch, or like everyone need to sleep afterwards. That's true. And then we do some like coding, also documentations during the day. But also, I'm also actually taking care of underwriting team, working as a product owner for underwriting team. So that would makes me talk more to different stakeholders and spending more time in terms of like talking to people. I would say normally you would spend about like 2 hours a day to just by talking to different people to make sure things is like progressing as you expected. Yeah, that's like what the day look like for us, but it's like no difference as on if you are a male data scientist or female data scientist. Here, like I think like it's literally like if a male can do that, a female can also do that. It's like no difference. Yeah, some sort of like final thoughts here. I keep saying like it's no difference for a female and male in data science, but it doesn't mean like we should all be the same type of person, or we should be appear like a man appear in actually a female's appearance, because it just doesn't make sense. So I mean, bridge the gap or to promote equality, not just trying to turn to people to all the same type of person, but it's more to embrace the difference and to building a support community to support each other and to make the world the better place, rather than just like try to only emphasize this like no difference, even though I keep saying that. Yeah, that's all for today. And hopefully it's still helpful to you. I know like I didn't really cover any of our projects or like any of current work I'm doing, but do feel free to ask any questions if you are interested.
Thank you so much, Dandan. That's really interesting to hear your personal experience and the importance of having female mentors who are really supportive.